The webSAFE enhancement plugin creates a secure area for you to provide access to digital files. Let's take a look at how that works. To access webSAFE, you'll first need to be in the Plugins tab on your admin, and then go ahead and click on the webSAFE icon to bring up the interface. The first thing that we see is the display login icon, and it's a simple yes or no toggle choice. And what that does is, here's the test site here, and on your home page, on the very right at the end of your navigation menu bar, if you select yes, an icon will appear there that has a link to the Access ID login page. So I'm going to go ahead and select yes and hit save, and we can take a look at that. So I'll go back to the home page and refresh now. And there we see the little lock icon with the link to the Access ID login page. Now that's an optional feature, meaning that whether or not you decide to display a login icon or not, webSAFE will always work and the login page will always be there. It's simply a personal choice as to whether or not you want to display a visible icon and link to that login page. The next section is Manage Files, and this is the area where you will be uploading files that you'd like to share. There are two areas that you can upload to. The first is the general area, and the second is the private area. Now the first thing you need to understand is these two areas have two different functions, but all files that you are going to be uploading need to go into one of these two areas. You don't want to create a new area here. If you do and upload files to it, they won't be available through webSAFE. So everything needs to go into either the general folder or the private folder depending on the access that you want to provide. So let's go ahead and take a look at the general folder first. And we'll go ahead and click on the folder icon to open it up. And here you'll see that I've uploaded several files into the general area. And you can upload files of just about any file type. You can upload as many files as you'd like, and you can upload files up to 100 megabytes in size. Now once you're in the general area, you can also create subfolders and put files, upload files into those subfolders if you'd like. But again, anyone that has an access code to the general area will be able to see everything. Any structure that you create, including subfolders with files in them, everything will be available in the general area to someone who has an Access ID code for that area. So let's go ahead and create an Access ID code for our general area. To do that, we're going to go up here and select Generate Access ID. And the first thing that we see here is a Create Notification Email toggle. And that's really more to do with the private area. So I'm going to skip that for now and we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's just go ahead and create our Access ID code. So now, for the general area, since it's a more public area, as I described earlier, you're probably only going to want to set up one Access ID code that you can give to everybody to access the general area. So with that assumption, I'm just going to go ahead first and select the general area by pulling down the select folder and selecting general. And then I have a choice to select how long this Access ID code is good for. Since it's for the general area and for everyone, I'm not going to give it a time limit. I'm just going to select unlimited. And again here, now in Access 4, normally this would be someone's name, but again, since I'm creating one for everyone, that's what I'm going to call it, everyone. And then the Access ID code is simply the password that you'd like to use. Now, again, in the case of a general area, you're probably going to want to create something that's easy for you to remember, that you can tell people, and easy for them to remember. So you can pick whatever you'd like, but I'm just going to say ABC123 for this demo, and go ahead and save the Access ID. Now, if we come up here to the Manage Access area, we can see a listing of all of the Access ID codes that we've created. So since we're just getting started, there's only one, but here's the one we just created. So it's Access for Everyone is the name. And access to the general area, and it expires, well, it doesn't expire, it's unlimited. So now we've set up our first Access ID code for the general area. So let's see how that works. So we'll go back out to our test site, and this time we'll go ahead and click on this login icon, which will open up another window and show us the Access ID login page. So it's asking us to enter our Access ID code. So this is where we'll put ABC123, and we'll go ahead and select Login. And so what webSAFE does is it looks at that Access ID code and knows what area it's supposed to be displaying. And so now it's showing us the general area. So we have these files that we were just looking at on the admin side. We now see them all here on this web page. So you can download each one of these files by simply clicking on the file name, and it will download to your desktop. Now there's also a handy feature here that if you have a bunch of files available, the user can click here and a zip file will be created and will enclose all of these files into one file. And then they can just simply download that zip file and extract it on their desktop and get all of the files all at once. So it makes it a little faster if you're offering a lot of files. So that's how the general area works. It's just that simple. And we'll go ahead and log out of it and go back to our admin and take a look at the private side. So we'll go back to Manage Files. And then we need to go up one level here to get back to our root level where we see both general and private. And so here's the private area. So we need to go inside of that folder. And we'll see that there's nothing here yet. So we're going to start creating folders in our private area. And that's key. You have to put your files into a folder. Don't upload loose files into the private area. You first need to create a folder because what you're giving access to is actually that folder, not a specific file. So always create folders and then put your files in those folders, even if you only have one file. So we'll create a folder first by clicking on New Folder. And let's say I have a client called ABC Corp. So I'll create a folder with that name. And then we'll go inside of that folder to upload our files. And so now we can upload files by simply clicking here on Upload. And this uploader is a little bit different than the one that you're used to in the Upload Manager. So I'll show you how it works. What you want to do is go and select your first file, and I'm going to select this PowerPoint file, and hit Upload. Now while it's uploading, I can add additional uploaders. So I can create more uploads all at once as we go along here. And so I'll just do all of these files. And as you can see, when they get done, they disappear once the upload is complete. And there's the last one. Now, while a file is uploading and that little icon is displaying, you need to make sure you leave this window open. If you go and navigate out to somewhere else in SiteProgress or do something else that closes this window, your upload will stop. So make sure that if you need to do other work, you do it in a different tab while you leave this window alone when you're doing your file upload. All right, we'll close that window out. We'll see the 4 files that we went ahead and uploaded here that are now inside of our ABC Corp folder. So let's go ahead now and create an access ID for this private folder. We do it the same way by going up to Generate Access ID. And then now we're going to use the Create Notification Email feature. So I'm just going to simply set that to yes and tell you that what you want to do is put the email address where you would like to receive this notification. It's for you, not for the user that you're giving an access ID code to, and I'll show you why that is in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and save that change to yes. Now we're going to create the access ID for the ABC Corp private folder. So again, now if I go to Select Folder and pull down, we'll see in addition to General, we also have ABC Corp. So we're going to select that. And now with private folders, an access duration is something that might come more into play. So let's say that we're only going to provide access to this person, to this information for 7 days, 1 week. So we'll select that. And now under Access For, we're going to put the person's name, let's say it's John Doe, and now we're going to create a password or access ID code for him. So we'll just call it John D, and we'll go ahead and save that access ID code. All right, so if we go back over to Manage Access, we'll see now that this has been added to our list, and we've created an access ID that's an access for John Doe, and it's an access to the ABC Corp private folder, and this one expires 1 week from today. So if we want to, we can delete this at any time, by the way, and that will immediately block access to that folder for someone. So you have complete control over your information. If this access ID expires on its own, it will auto-delete itself. You don't need to come up here and delete it manually. It will do it by itself automatically. All right, so now let's go and take a look at how this works on accessing and logging in to see a private folder. Now you remember we created that email, so I'm going to go out to my email box here and I'm going to get my mail, and we'll see that coming in here is an email called webSAFE information for John Doe, which is what we just created. So if I open up this email, you'll see here that this is what webSAFE does for you. Basically it creates access ID information, and it includes a link to the login page as well as the access ID code or password. If there's an expiration date, it will also give you that information. So the idea here is you can just simply copy this and paste it into an email that you're going to send to the person that you're providing access to. The reason that we do it this way, instead of just going ahead and sending it directly to that person, is they may not have SiteProgress.com as a recognized address in their email client, so this email could go into their spam folder and then they wouldn't see it. So the idea here is for you to just go ahead and copy this information and paste it into an email from you so that they're sure to get it. So once they do, they'll have this information and they can simply click here again on the link in the email, and that automatically brings up the Access ID login page, and then go ahead and put the ID in, which in this case is John D. And now they can log in. And that will immediately take them to the private folder that they are granted access to. And so here you see these 4 files that are available for download for this person. And now again, they can click on each file and download it, or they can create a zip file of all of them. And I'll show you how that works real quick just by clicking here. And so we want to do that, and it basically creates a little zip file here called all files, and then you can just click on that, and that'll bring up a download interface window. And so you can download that file and then extract that and get all 4 of these files all at once. Okay, so we'll close that up. So that's how the private area works. And again, now you can create as many different private area folders as you would like. You can create as many different access IDs as you'd like. You can create multiple access IDs to the same folder with different durations. Whatever you'd like to do, you have full functionality to do that. The only rules that you need to remember are in the private area, every file needs to be in a folder because you're giving access to the folders, and you want to make sure not to ever delete the general or the private area. Everything goes inside of those 2 areas. All right, that's webSAFE. If you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email at support@siteprogress.com.